Vinny got me off this traffic ticket by killing the judge.
I remember he was on Saturday Night Live the week after Sinbad O'Connor ripped that picture of the Pope up. He was the host, and he's like, nobody rips up a picture of the Pope in my city on this stage in America. Nobody really asked the reason why Sinbad O'Connor ripped that picture of the Pope up. She was protesting against fucking, apparently, the whole Kitty Diddler situation was kind of coming out at that point.
It might have helped if she had actually said why she was doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought it was Shanae, not Sinbad. Sinbad's a pirate. Sinead.
I was...
Shin-Aid, like the concert to help with Bruce Shins.
More shins than a Chinese phone book?
Ooh, that's a burn.
Oh.
We're live as fuck.
Yeah. We can put music over that.
Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast. And you're here with myself, Mike.
And I'm Matt.
And that's our producer, J-Lo.
Thank you, J-Lo.
Yes, sir. Today, what do we have on the docket?
It looks like it's James Shelby Downard.
Oh, man, this guy.
He's got Downard syndrome.
Woo, boy. Man, if you thought your head was ever full of weird ideas, this gentleman is strange. But you know what? He's a good kind of strange. This is a man who more or less essentially set up conspiracy theories in the way that most, we'll say, kind of fly-by-night internet, YouTube, university conspiracy theorists sort of follow. Except this guy really did his homework. He engaged in what some people call synchro-mysticism. I believe he called it mystical toponymy. Basically, all his conspiracy theories revolve around A, Freemasons, or what he called a secret combination. So there's basically a warring contingency of various groups of Freemasons, Klansmen, who else? The CFR, the fucking banks, etc. Aside from that, there's also computerized mind control or sexual magic mind control as well. There's a weird overlap between the two. But our main sources for today are his third of his life biography, we'll say, which is called The Carnivals of Life and Death. And
also, it's going to come from King Kill 33, just a few excerpts there. We're going to have a shootout on Elm Street. We're going to have some mystical taint. That comes with the lunch.
Can't get enough of that.
And I think we'll also have us a little bit of an open mic night with Mike as he reads an excerpt from
The Carnivals of Life and Death,
that book.
I also plan on taking a chance. I'll take a stab in the dark. I'll take a stab westward at trying to basically delineate Downard's view of what the Illuminati's view is of how they plan to take over the world, their glorious 3.5 plan, I guess you'd call it. We'll get into that as well. So that's what you guys to look forward to today, folks. And I know you want to hear it because we're dying to fucking understand just as well as anyone else.
Pharmakos.
Yes, you'll learn some Greek vocabulary today as well. We'll start off with a quick excerpt from The Carnivals of Life and Death. Not quite a full chapter, but this will give you a kind of an idea of what this man's outlook on a bit of the conspiracy is.
And for those of you at home, just follow the bouncing ball.
Big A, little a, bouncing B. The sorcery of computerized mind control. The latest greatest evil is a science rooted in the occult and developed by way of electrophysiology, cybernetics, biotelemetry, radiotelemetry, etc., into a monstrosity of computerized mind control. The esoteric origins of these seemingly neutral technologies can be seen in specialized Masonic lore, such as the various lodge scams of Cagliostro, Egyptian Masonry, Mesmeric Masonry, Universal Harmony, and in earlier Gnosticism, Jewish Kabbalism, and particularly alchemy, all of which are somewhat similar to the degree that they treat a force or energy that might best be described as resembling electromagnetism. Radiotelemetry is the science of automatic measurement and transmission of data by radio from remote sources. Its primary use is for surveillance or remote monitoring, in a variety of forms, some seemingly benign, all devious. Tracking was first done by monitoring on-the-body transmitters with a direct antenna. Next, a method of location was developed similar to LORAN, or long-range navigation, which determine the position of ships by the use of intersecting electronic signals. I should call attention to the fact that LORAN, a technical problem arose by which slave station and master station transmissions became reversed. That is, the slave would occasionally get into position of the master station. I call this the Spartacus effect. Medical telemetry such as radiocartography and radioencephalography sound humane enough, but are they? Oh, are they humane enough? Biotelemetric experiments start with pasting electrodes to animals or human bodies, then move on to implantation of electrodes, such as the primitive one that was embedded in me. Here we go. It has long been known that pain or pleasure can be produced through electrical stimulation of the nervous system. Eventually, it was realized that the same thing could be done by implanting a radiotelemetry-controlled device to produce electrical stimuli capable of causing not only pain or pleasure, but even death. Today, magnetic resonancing imaging, or MRI, has made it possible to take a fingerprint of your brain, which means that remote monitoring might not even require implants anymore. Indeed, biotelemetry has always been about monitoring not just the vital signs of wretched animal and human guinea pigs, but what they are seeing, feeling, and thinking as well. Ooh. When radiotelemetry and biotelemetry began to look like a go, the creeps at LORAN Center had the brainstorm of subjugating with their cybernetic hardware. As hideous as their scheme seemed, it was the first limited to the pain-pleasure gambit plus surveillance, and the absolute horror that has now materialized was not earlier within their grasp. In order for that to develop, it was necessary to discover the nature of the radiant mind power that coexists with the electrical functions of brain and body, and the means for transmitting and receiving that energy. Mind control finally became an actuality, where human servo mechanisms served under remote control.
What a fucking nerd. I don't know whether I should be terrified or just in awe of how much this sounds kind of like maybe a little bit of a touch of the schizophrenia.
I'm so scared. I peed my pants, but I'm also stupefied. I'm just going to pee into a tinfoil hat.
He's just going to pee into a fentanyl hat. What?
I wish I had a fentanyl hat right now. I could really use one. No.
So what exactly is going on here with that excerpt? What is he trying to get across? That
basically, he is this is classic tinfoil hat shit, basically. This is all about the control of the human mind through technology.
As he understands it in his time.
Yes. This was probably written, this particular excerpt from The Carnivals of Life and Death was probably written in the 80s. And that's around a time in conspiracy culture where you had a lot of Mark of the Beast, chip in your arm, what do you call it, barcodes and shit.
I remember as a kid, they were talking about putting homing beacons in kids until they were 18. When I was in second grade, there was an article.
Jesus.
Yeah. And the ethical dilemma that people were in. Do we keep them safe by microchipping them? Because we can do that now.
What if the pedos got a hold of that technology? Yeah, I know where to find that one kid I was looking at. Ugh.
There's always one guy looking it up. What if Jared from Subway had gotten that?
Dude, did you remember ever hearing about a while back people were hacking like baby monitors and like talking to babies and shit? That is fucked up. That was an offside thing. Yeah. I just thought about it just now, but that kind of plays into what we're talking about because, I don't know.
Not a paradox. It's like the equation for technology. It doubles its production every 2 weeks or whatever.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't have the exact name for it. The Kardashev scale?
Something like that.
I could be wrong on that.
Anyways, the Anthony Anderson output or something. I don't know. But that's just the 80s. It's like the birth of the personal PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the 80s. So like even then, like, man, it's becoming more prevalent.
Yeah.
And technology is outpacing my ability to be a kook.
Yeah. People were just also then getting a idea of what the military had, what was available to them, and it was just now becoming available to the public. Fucking cinder block size cell phones and shit like that, like Zach Morris had.
And a briefcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was making people more scared. And then fucking today, look at the leaps and bounds we've come to today. So, you know.
So he was saying that you can totally remove any kind of emitting beacon from the person or animal and just have the marker of their brain waves.
Basically, yeah. You could more or less hack into their brain or nervous system, and you would essentially feel what they feel. You can monitor heart rate. You can monitor adrenal output, things like this.
This is pretty interesting because he's more correct than you think.
Oh, yeah.
What's the one thing we all have on us all the time?
Phone?
A fucking cell phone. And
Yeah.
what does it do? It tracks every movement.
Mm-hmm.
Your provider is tracking all your searches, even the safe search. Nothing is free.
It tracks how many times you try to get Alexa to talk dirty to you when you're trying to go to sleep at night.
That's true.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one.
Yeah. But we're going to be using references from this book throughout the show because there's just a lot to unpack.
We're gonna dip. We're gonna doodle.
The guy's just he suffers from grandiosity.
Yes, very much.
I don't know if it's a real psychological condition or not, but we were talking about it in the pre-show, like a narcissistic pareidolia. All these patterns just kind of revolve around him somewhere, somehow.
It's somewhat something you could say that afflicts our entire nation at this moment, if you'd like to get timely about it.
Yeah.
Fucking conspiracy theory has become a national pastime these days.
And it's all about me. God damn it.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
I kind of don't want to get into it too deep until the next episode, but let's just say we'll touch on the idea of targeted individuals and leave it at that.
So the reason I think that he's the grandiosity and all this, and maybe a touch of the schizophrenia, is because of the shootout on Elm Street,
right,
at the Blue Cafe.
Yes. This occurred when he was roughly 14, 15 years old, by the way.
Between like 11 and 15.
I just like to preface before we step into this. This is an excerpt as well from we'll be touching on an excerpt from the book, The Carnivals of Life and Death, and the majority of this book takes place throughout his childhood. And I got to tell you, this shit reads on Dennis the Menace, like Dennis the Menace on crack meets Pulp Fiction. It is fucking wacky. But it's entertaining as shit. I'll give it that.
It's a good time for sure. So the shootout started as he went to go collect his payment for working at this cafe. And the proprietor of the business said, no, come back later. We'll deal with it later. And he said, no, I need my money. I need to be paid. And when he wouldn't give him the money, he picked up a hammer that he had stashed.
Where's my money, motherfucker?
Yeah, where's my money, bitch? Fuck you, and dropped the hammer on the fucking bar and told him, give me my money. Things got heated, and they said, okay, well, let's take this shit outside. You walk outside, and I'll shoot you. He even told him, when we go outside, I'm going to shoot you.
You fucking 14-year-old.
Yeah, you little fucking 14-year-old bitch.
This is from like a 50-year-old man.
Yeah, from a grown-ass man. So they go outside, and this little motherfucker positions himself to where this guy has to get a clear shot. He has to stand on a gas grill or a gas line. He's waving his 32 caliber pistol around and talking all this shit. And then Downard just grabs a match out of a matchbox and throws it into the gas grill, causing an explosion that lifted this guy clean up off the gas grill, and it stunned him. You know, he hit the ground. He's all fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, Downard runs over there. He says in the book, I had a pocket knife on me and I folded the knife out and then I cut his nostril. And that's when he decided he was going to pay me.
It reads like Looney Tunes, man. And it kind of took place during the same era, too. Like,
and so,
this was in the 20s, I believe.
Yeah.
30s.
Early 20s. So he's already got his money. And the proprietor said to him, you'll never make it home. That money's going to do you no good. You'll never make it home. Because we've hired a professional killer to come finish the job. Where the fuck this came in, I have no clue.
Yeah.
But it's just...
It's another reoccurring theme throughout the book. People trying to more or less, quote unquote, assassinate Downard or brainwash him. All these people who secretly work for the Masons or some other part of the quote unquote secret combination.
So he dodges this, or, he gets away from this altercation by blowing up a gas grill and fucking cutting a guy up. And, apparently no police reports were ever filed because they were too afraid of what Shelby might do. He's on his merry way going back home, counting his 15 cents he made. Mm-hmm. And fucking that's when a guy approached him by a railroad trestle. This must have been the hired gun. Well, Downard takes a pipe and a shotgun shell that he had kept on his person and the hammer he took with him, because this is my fucking hammer now, he took from the fucking cafe, And he goes ahead, loads that into a pipe, and hammers that shotgun shell right through the pipe, ending this would-be assassin's life.
Yeah. It doesn't explode his hand either. It actually shoots the fucking guy.
The shotgun shell was afraid of his hand, apparently. Just
that's his writing style. That keeps in line with his attitude and his personality.
Just reading that part of the book alone, it reminds me of Texas Ranger, Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh, Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, yeah. If y'all remember the Chuck Norris has a third fist in his beard, and every time he does push-ups, the earth goes down. Like if Shelby Downard had that growing up around, this is the same. He would do the same thing for himself that this list of things Chuck Norris does.
Oh, most definitely.
But yeah.
That's definitely how he views himself in this book. There are other bits there's just some weird ass parts of this book too. Like there's one segment called The Centipede Woman, where it takes place largely on Jekyll Island, which is
she ass to mouth?
Maybe, we'll see. She is sort of a back in the day old-timey secretary of the Rockefellers, who were based on Jekyll Island along with other rich white dudes back in the day. Basically, they were doing mind control experiments with this woman, like putting her in cages with these giant exotic centipedes from like the Florida Keys. Apparently, it's like a special place where you only find them there. And they put her in a cage, electroshock her in the head, and we're gonna make her more centipede than woman, and just all kinds of weird shit like that.
Well, see, with this,
and if you hate bugs like I do, it's extra traumatizing.
Well, these paranoid delusions, and even these stories about people coming after them. I mean, that fly-by-night fucking hired gun service in Dallas really showed up on time, but they really botched the fucking job, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
But stuff like this keeps happening throughout his life. He starts writing about being the pharmacos, or the scapegoat.
Yeah, the sacrifice. All these people who tried to assassinate him throughout his life, or at least through his childhood and adolescence.
People like the Klan.
Yeah,
and Masons.
The Klan, Masons.
And just imagine how much money he asked from them.
They viewed him as basically what they called the pharmacos, or what's also known as the scapegoat, where he was basically seen as a sacrifice, like nothing more, nothing less. He was intended from the get-go to be a sacrifice of some kind. At least that's how he writes it. That's how they view him. So, but to what end? No one's really sure. It's not quite ever delineated in the book in any way.
So just to show the duplicitous nature of the guy, he's either going to be the pharmacos or the savior, which is, once again, like, man, you don't understand.
He's Harry Potter.
Yeah. I have to either be sacrificed or lead the world into this revolutionary way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's called listen to me. And it's just, okay, hold on, man. We got to unpack this shit, because this, goddamn, dude, there's a lot here.
And remember, that's how he writes that the Masons saw him. I mean, I'm not saying that he probably viewed himself as something, I don't know, twice as grandiose.
I mean,
as a messiah of some sorts.
It may
some great messenger.
Not be true.
Yeah.
So he's pissed off all these people. He goes underground for a while.
He had quite a lot of enemies, yes.
Yeah. A few years go by, and he starts noticing some trends. That whole narcissistic pareidolia adds up over the years and gets some interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he writes the article King Kill 33.
Yeah, he did a lot of studies in folklore, Masonic history, synchronicity, numerology, etc., symbolism. All these kind of things feed into his overall style. And that's eventually where we get his first bit of writing, King Kill 33. Break it down, Matt.
Just a tease here. It'll give you so we get a 3.5, technically a 3-point plan, but it's a 3.5 really, because there's a little extra bonus piece in there for you.
King Kill 33 falls right in the middle. The second part of their 3-part plan, if I remember correctly.
A lot of this is based on, man, I got to keep looking up there. We got a big magic erase board. So there's a mystical taint involved. So in King Kill 33, there's a 3-point plan, and he's looking at a lot of stuff going on that's already transpired. And he starts digging back, and they say follow the money, but he just follows the families back and starts looking at all these things. He's like, well, this is just too much to be coincidence. as far as the mystical taint is concerned, so there's a story about the Dolly Mop of this club, Hellfire Club.
Perhaps you've heard of them.
You might have heard of them, and not that from that show, but
the real one.
The real one.
With the Earl of Sandwich and other various fops and dandies.
This lady is considered like communal property, right? Yeah, like everybody in Hellfire Club has to have sex with her because of that mysticism contained deep in her inner loin of taintness.
It's ritual.
Yeah, it's
sex
ritual.
magic, etc.
And the sex magic has the rumors around it get so big and the information starts to spread around according to what I've read. Probably right. I mean, just should be. Sex magic gets a bad rap from the Catholic Church. She's falls out of favor with her current Hellfire Club members and ends up finding herself in Prussia.
Because they're all like aristocrats and stuff, right? Connected to royalty or whatever.
Well,
a lot of them.
There's a lot of wealthy Masons involved in all this. And
that makes sense, most definitely.
At least the people who know what strings to pull are involved in all this to get anything done.
So she's sort of like a battery of sorts, you could say. Like
Assault and battery, yeah.
I'm sure she's plenty salty.
It's just not safe for her.
Smells like ammonia.
Ugh. You know when you walk in there to that specific gentleman's club around 3 in the afternoon and that smell in the air that you know is not coming from the food? I can't say the name of the company.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah.
I think I know the one you're talking about, though.
You know. You all know.
J-Lo's been there as well.
I got to rent a cup? What?
$10 for ice?
Fuck you. That's why you walk in with your beer handcuffed to you.
Yeah.
You can't do anything
like you're
about
from
it.
the fucking Treasury Department.
Yeah. These are bearer bonds.
How ironic.
So she finds herself in Prussia, and this is around 1770s, right? So, and in that time, Prussia was run by King Frederick II, and ironically, the king in Prussia, because Poland owned another part. They owned part of Prussia.
Is this Frederick of Barbarossa?
No.
Okay. I just know that because it means red beard.
Around the same time that this lady shows up, she becomes bedfellows with Frederick II. Then the title goes from King in Prussia to King of Prussia. And he consolidates his power. And he gets a little bit more power.
Is there a big difference between the two? Or any kind of shift in power from that? Or is it just a title change?
It's not a lateral promotion, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
So because
33 cents more.
Yeah. What an ironic number. So there's East Prussia and West Prussia, but he consolidates power and becomes a lot more. He consolidates his power, and a lot of the power may be attributed to this so-called mystical taint.
Hey, I'm sweating over here, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's you might have to help me say this name. The Masonry of Cogliostro?
Masonry of Cogliostro.
Cogliostro, thank you. I'm terrible at that. It's magnetic masonry, right? And it's the transfer of magnetic force that's attached to those who traffic in the ritual sex perversions, such as what we just said earlier, where they have to have it's not, what is it, traditional? It's mandatory tradition.
Ritual.
We have to have sex with this lady.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't argue with that.
Well, I mean, once again, this plays into like the whole idea of belief, and it doesn't matter what you believe, it's that they believe it. Belief is gonna
it's powerful.
It's gonna dictate your behavior. So
the woman's name is Chudley, which is probably a fake name. It's most likely fake, but yeah, I know it's
very unappetizing. Sounding.
Yes,
it sounds like.
Is that Icelandic? No,
it's like a weird jelly or a jam or something. That's what makes me think of, with chunks of fruit in it.
It just sounds like leftover part of a process, which I guess is still true. Anyways. She falls out of favor with the Prussian king and finds herself in the arms of a Polish prince, the Radzivills. That's the name of the family.
Okay, I was going to say Vladislav or
I remember that name. That name is important.
Radislav. Okay.
Radziv. Radzivill.
It's in the dirty drawer next to my bed.
It's in the sauce drawer. So the Radsvilles, they are markedly and afflicted with tragedy after tragedy after tragedy because they think that, as alleged by Shelby Downard, this mystical taint, the powers that dwelled with inside the walls of this taint, passed along negative energy. They got the shit end of the stick for all of history, and that it was so potent that it cast down to each generation, suffering like loss of wealth and land and pride or whatever.
It's like she just kegeled a jinx through the centuries.
Yeah.
Through time.
She just queefed her way through generations.
I guess it'd be a reverse kegel.
So the Radsvilles, their fortunes just declined over time, but you also have to, he looked at the family tree, and the Beals and the Bouviers and the Kennedys are all tied into the Radsvilles. So according to him, he's saying that the misfortunes are so powerful that it actually jumped a family.
It's all tied into these dynasties.
Yeah, the Radsvilles gave their bad juju to the Kennedys.
And I'm also sure that I've heard all presidents have been at least something degree Masons, but at least I think we can confirm that all presidents have been Masons to a degree. Is that true?
I think at least 93% or something ridiculous. Like most of them were.
Okay. I know that there's like a weird Catholic thing with the Masons, that a Catholic can't be a Mason or vice versa. So it's weird with Kennedy, but we do at least have the family lineage thing.
We got that.
You know, some of you out there in Radical Radio Land may be wondering, hey, I love Taint as much as the next guy. What does it have to do with the Illuminati? What's all this thing got to do with that thing? Well, that's where we're going to go from here. See, basically what happens is, what had happened was, after the Radzislaws, I'm sorry, what is it?
Radsvilles.
I know
it's
I always think Vladislav in my head.
Yeah, it's the hit 80s show, The Radsvilles.
The Radsvilles married into the Kennedy family, and give or take a few centuries, we'll say, you lead up to Joe Kennedy himself, who more or less, one could argue, basically created his own candidate with his son. He basically shaped and molded each one of his children to take over a certain part of industry.
He statecrafted
his kids. Oh, yeah. Old Joe K., he was a bit of a, you can't see it, but I'm sticking my nose to the left to indicate that he was into some gangster shit.
He's a bootlegger.
Yeah. One could argue that he basically built up Kennedy. And in the building up of Kennedy, that would be John Fitzgerald. I don't know if anyone else knew that, but there you go. In the building up of JFK, there was also a building up of mythology around him. This is where we get the idea of Camelot. And in the whole building up of JFK and Camelot around him, this whole concept of Camelot, this basically built a new hope in America. John Kennedy was this bright, young, clean-cut fella, one of the youngest men to ever be president. He symbolized hope for so many people. He was going to change things. He was going to take us to the moon. He was going to stop the Cold War, etc.
He wasn't Nixon.
Yeah. That's a plus on any level.
He hit all the bars for everything. He was a veteran. That served in World War II. He was not a Dixiecrat.
Nope.
He managed to get the next biggest, baddest guy around, LBJ, to side with him. And
huge dick.
Yeah, huge dick. I mean, literal dick. His nickname for his ding dong was Jumbo. But LBJ also was kind of gangster-like. Everybody in Houston was fucking terrified of him. Mm-hmm. LBJ had so much pull that he actually got Strom Thurmond and the Dixiecrats to shut the fuck up.
Good.
And that's what got them elected.
Longest, what do they call it? Bumbershoot? Where you stand up and just talk?
Bumbershoot? No, filibuster.
Filibuster,
Well, yes. We're going to start calling it a bumbershoot. Wendy Davis's bumbershoot.
Strom Thurmond has the record for longest bumbershoot and also the longest filibuster for the non-mixing of races. Fucking, if that doesn't tell you what a fucking giant asshole that guy was there, well, then crack a history book and find more worse shit out about him.
Glad he's dead. Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him. Lost to history sooner or later. So, yeah, Kennedy, who was also a bit of a Mac Daddy himself, I just had to throw that in there because everyone knows fucking Those two pages in history are stuck together, as Dave Chappelle likes to say. So basically, he's got this mythology built up around him. And this is where the insidious, we'll say 3 to 3.5 point plot of the Illuminati, in Shelby's eyes, comes into play. So point 1 in the 3.5 point plot is the alchemical separation of elements. And the way he saw this was he basically conflated it with the first atomic bomb being detonated at the Trinity site. And Trinity and 33, these all come into play with the whole...
That was on the 33rd parallel.
Yes, and the 33rd parallel, where a lot of bad shit happens on the 33rd parallel. Look at it all across the planet Earth. It's either bad or weird supernatural shit. Just all around the planet Earth. You can check it on a map and fucking blow your mind, bro. Once again. So
the first point was to change matter in form,
yes.
Right?
And that was with the splitting of the atom. That's what he conflated that with.
And so the second one was supposed to be
the killing of the king.
A sacrifice.
Yes.
And now,
another pharmakos, if you will.
Yes. And since he was a pharmakos himself, who better to identify the next one?
He must know what the fuck he's talking about. And then point 3 basically is, I believe it, basically the best way to put it would be reveal all that is concealed. Now, the best way I can form that in what Shelby meant is that the Illuminati had plans to essentially build a back road into the minds of every man. This is like, we're talking psychological domination. The point 5 of this plan comes into play from a sort of short article that Downard wrote with some less reputable people as well. We won't get into that, but
he doesn't get anything on this show.
No, we won't even bring his name into it. It's all about how throughout the ages in occultism, there's been sort of a stress placed on making contact with non-human intelligences. Many could essentially delineate this to be equatable to aliens, more or less. So they're talking about building sort of these back roads from outer space to inner space to a degree. And, you know,
so you're saying
this is all a very convoluted...
It's just vague enough it could work.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're saying not just outer space aliens, but inner space aliens?
Well, they're technically the same thing.
Yeah. Interdimensional beings, any being.
Because in most of your occult lore, when you're talking about non-human intelligences, you're talking about elementals, spirits. And this doesn't necessarily just mean like the spirits of the dead. You're talking about things that were never human.
Like Cthulhu.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, that could be argued. Yeah. Yes, intangibles. It's another good word for it.
Oh, you got to have those if you're going to be in a cult.
Yeah, the fucking Rocky, Jet Li, all the other intangibles. Classics.
Rocky V.
Rocky versus Rocky V.
Oh, I get it. Intangibles. Like, yeah. Thank you. Took me a second.
Glad someone did. Are you talking about the man who single-handedly built the rocket to the moon? What was his name? Apollo Creed? So yeah, each one of these points in the plan, the separation of matter and primordial matter, or the alchemical separation of matter, this was to basically like open up the doorway for the plan to take place. The killing of the king is intended to more or less demoralize the masses, which that sure enough fucking did.
Yeah.
Fucking the United States hasn't been the same since.
Man,
you might as well say it's the birth of conspiracy culture in this country. So, although there's ill shit going back farther than that, obviously.
Just for reference, right after JFK got killed, anywhere the Dallas Cowboys went to go play outside of Dallas, they were booed and harassed relentlessly.
Ain't their fucking fault.
Fucking merciless. Like, them Cowboys killed JFK, man.
Yeah, fucking, I mean, let's worry about the actual bad things Cowboys have done, like the cocaine and hookers and all that shit. That's today. Yeah. Don't get too wistful, Matt.
Next week.
Join us next week.
So, and then part 3, the opening up, the revealing of all that is concealed. Basically, that's meant to be once again, it's building an open in way to the subconscious mind of all man. Like, it means the subconscious becoming conscious. It's easier to dominate a people when you have an inlet into their mind. When like there's a policeman in your head, essentially.
Dream police?
Yeah, they come to me in my bed. Yeah. So when you've got a policeman, a dream police, what have you, in your head, you're going to be thinking a certain way, and that's what they want. That's exactly what they want. So once they've built that roadway, then the whole fucking aliens thing from inner outer space, that's just where it gets wacky as shit. But that's why we've broken it into sort of a 3.5 point plan, because it's already fucking wacky. But you bring aliens from inner space, I mean, we're getting, to be honest, that shit sort of scares me a little. I have what do you call it? An irrational fear of aliens to a bit of a degree. But you read more about that shit, it's not so irrational. This is basically what they want to enact to bring about the whole goddamn rigmarole for the Illuminati or the cryptocracy or the global occult government or whatever you want to call it.
Or the omni-conspiracist.
Yes, the omni-conspiracy, the big one that ties together all conspiracies.
All the plot points from every conspiracy show.
Every time you go to
on
7-Eleven and they're out of the cherry flavor of fucking slushy, it's because of the goddamn Council of Foreign Relations. It's all tied together. It doesn't matter. This all feeds into the omni-conspiracy, that every conspiracy is interrelated, and intermingled, and inextricably linked with all the other conspiracies, and one can't go on without the other. Essentially, it boils down to, you go to 7-Eleven and they don't have the cherry slushy flavor you like because fucking the Council of Foreign Relations, that's why. So, the end.
That is the most logical.
Yes, this is the most, I know it sounds hard to follow, but this is the beauty of James Shelby Downard, if we can get into why we chose to discuss this man, is that he takes all these pinpoints that we've given you, but he has fucking essays worth of just folkloric, mythological, symbolic. Symbolic, yes. I'm trying to add a logical to everything. It's just, you can't.
Symbological.
You can't add logic to a lot of this shit, basically, is the problem. He takes it all and ties it all together with synchronicities, names, dates, days of the week, where their names come from. You know, Thursday is Thor's Day. All these pagan backgrounds of things that we take for granted and don't really think about every day. And he ties them all together and fucking finds these branches of continuity that connect these things together. And it's just the weirdest shit, man. It's fucking head trippy for certain. It's definitely one of the templates of what we see as modern day conspiracy theory, except that, unfortunately, the masses of who we were saying were stricken with what we've dubbed narcissistic pareidolia. You can give that one to Matt.
I'm sure it's probably a real thing.
Yeah, someone may have said it before, but we're calling it here right now on this show.
We're the only team, the only two brothers on the planet with the balls and the courage.
Trademark. What year is it? 2023. Don't date the show though.
We don't know when the show was actually made.
This is classical and timeless.
I think the guy is a fucking kook.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
He's definitely a crank.
He's an entertaining kook, and he's definitely an entertaining crank. And a bit of an iconoclast. I'm going to give him less of that last one. I would say on the crank scale, on a 1 to 5, he gets at least a 4.5.
He's really cranking it out then.
Yeah. Cranking it hard. Jeez. Get some lotion, buddy.
Yeah. Build a house.
Yeah.
He's got to build a house.
Someone leave a washer dryer on in a 1980s sitcom? The narcissistic pareidolia that has gripped our country, I'll say this came in around the same time a certain individual became president. It's around this time when...
we'll call him Orange Julius.
Yeah. And I don't think that, personally, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think it's synchronicity. I certainly think there was a bit of an engineering hand behind the rise in popularity of conspiracy theory. And you can attribute it to fucking other cranks like Alex Jones or YouTube University and the various wackadoos who fucking post just god-awful, hateful shit. But at least James Shelby Downard did his fucking homework, and he made it sound somewhat logical, using the fucking leaps in logic and the connections, Twilight language that he used.
He does that thing where it's like, man, I'm not sure if this guy is coherent.
However, there is an element to his work, and I think he does this on purpose. He presents himself as sort of a know-it-all, like he's the grand puppet master on stage. B, an obvious charlatan who fucking is just making shit up, an entertainer, if you will. And C, I don't know if he's just straight up fucking with us or not. Is he making this shit up and he knows it and he's fucking putting all these little jokes in there to mess with us? It's a real head fuck, like if you take it in those 3 steps.
I think personally, he's just having a good time.
Hey man, fucking,
it's just live guerrilla art.
Yeah. I had a good time reading it.
Yeah.
I will not lie. Fucking Carnivals of Life and Death is one of the most, I read it all in one night. It's a very entertaining read. I recommend it highly. And yeah, fucking, that is James Shelby Downard, man. I highly suggest everyone check him out. King Kill 33 is also fucking definitely worth checking out. You'll see some maybe parallels with some shit going on in the world today from when he wrote it.
And look for the hidden Easter eggs in there.
Yeah. They'll drive you fucking insane.
But I think that's a wrap, man. At least for now. We're probably just going to take a break and come back for another show, hopefully, if we're not canceled or we lose our jobs. I don't know.
And we're back. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We love you. You're sexy. You're brilliant.
You look so fucking hot today.
I just want to rub your feet every night.
Thank you to J-Lo.
Yeah, thank you to J-Lo for producing. Thank you to my brother, Matt, for this endeavor. I thought you were going to thank me. Okay, that's fine. We can go along. That's fine. But yeah.
I was thinking of the word.
No, it's quite all right. I don't need any aggrandizement of my own. Fucking, I'm pushy enough. Thank you, everyone out there in Radical Radio Land, for listening. I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt.
That's J-Lo. Thanks for listening to the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.